50 quotes from James Clear. In the messy world of a college dorm, I made it a point to keep my room neat and tidy. These improvements were minor, but they gave me a sense of control over my life. A habit is a routine or behavior that is performed regularly and, in many cases, automatically. I accumulated small but consistent habits that ultimately led to results that were unimaginable when I started. Changes that seem small and unimportant at first will compound into remarkable results if you're willing to stick with them for years. In the long run, the quality of our lives often depends on the quality of our habits. With the same habits, you'll end up with the same results. But with better habits, anything is possible. It was gradual evolution, a long series of small wins and tiny breakthroughs. The only way I made progress, the only choice I had, was to start small. I had never considered myself a mastery of a topic, but rather someone who was experimenting alongside my readers. If you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. What starts as a small win or a minor setback accumulates into something much more. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through interest, habits seem to make little difference on any given day, and yet the impact they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. It is only when looking back 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones become strikingly apparent. We often dismiss small changes because they don't seem to matter very much in the moment. A slight change in your daily habits can guide your life to a very different destination. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformation. What matters is whether your habits are putting you on the path toward success. You should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. If you want to predict where you'll end up in life, all you have to do is follow the curve of tiny gains or tiny losses, and see how your daily choices will compound 10 or 20 years down the line. Time magnifies the margin between success and failure. It will multiply whatever you feed it. Good habits make time your ally. Bad habits make time your enemy. Habits are a double-edged sword. Bad habits can cut you down just as easily as good habits can build you up. The more tasks you can handle without thinking, the more your brain is free to focus on other areas. Learning one new idea won't make you a genius, but a commitment to lifelong learning can be transformative. Bamboo can barely be seen for the first 5 years as it builds extensive root systems underground before exploding 90 feet into the air within 6 weeks. Habits often appear to make no difference until you cross a critical threshold and unlock a new level of performance. In the early and middle stages of any quest, there is often a valley of disappointment. It's a hallmark of any compounding process. The most powerful outcomes are delayed. All big things come from small beginnings. Habits deliver numerous benefits, but the downside is that they can lock us into our previous patterns of thinking and acting, even when the world around us is shifting. The idea is to make it as easy as possible in the moment to do things that pay off in the long run. A handful of problems arise when you spend too much time thinking about your goals and not enough time designing your system. If successful and unsuccessful people share the same goals, then the goal cannot be what differentiates the winners from the losers. It was only when they implemented a system of continuous small improvements that they achieved a different outcome. Fix the inputs and the outputs will fix themselves. It is unlikely that your actual path through life will match the exact journey you had in mind when you set out. When you fall in love with the process rather than the end product, you don't have to wait to give yourself permission to be happy. The purpose of setting goals is to win the game. The purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. True long-term thinking is goalless thinking. Ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. Bad habits repeat themselves again and again, not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for change. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. The ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when a habit becomes part of your identity. It's one thing to say, "I'm the type of person who wants this." It's something very different to say I'm the type of person who is this. It almost always happens that when the immediate consequence is favorable, the later consequences are disastrous, and vice versa. Often, the sweeter the first fruit of a habit, the more bitter are its later fruits. The seed of every habit is a single, tiny decision. I began to realize that my results had very little to do with the goals I set and nearly everything to do with the systems I followed. If you want better results, then forget about setting goals. Focus on your system instead. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. It's only by making the fundamentals of life easier, through habits, that you can create the mental space needed for free thinking and creativity. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. In the long history of humankind, those who learned to collaborate and improvise most effectively have prevailed. It is emotion that allows you to mark things as good, bad, or indifferent. In practice, it doesn't really matter how long it takes for a habit to become automatic. What matters is that you take the actions you need to take to make progress. Conventional wisdom holds that motivation is the key to habit change. Maybe if you really wanted it, you'd actually do it. But the truth is, our real motivation is to be lazy and to do what is convenient.